If you walk into an appointment when a seller just smells that you're after money, right, that you don't have their best interest at heart, you walk into the appointment and the first thing that you do is just start talking numbers, they're going to read that in you. They're going to feel your energy, right? And it's going to drive up a wall and a barrier from getting more opportunities and deals closed. So when you think of the wholesaling industry, right, and you're a real estate agent, so you come from the other side of the tracks as well, and there's a lot of agents that kind of look down upon wholesalers, if you will, right? They think that they're unprofessional, people writing a contract and then going back on it. So when you think of operating on a professional level inside of this industry, what are the first things that come to mind?
For one, it's definitely knowing your market and your numbers. Making sure that you don't look or sound hungry. That's, I think, a big key with wholesalers is when you're talking to the sellers, they need to know that you are looking out for their best interest or trying to help them with whatever real estate issue they have going on.
I like that. So what she said we'll just call it this because this is my favorite term to use, but you don't want to have commission breath, right?
Right.
No commission breath. Commission breath is a big no, people. Stay away from bad breath. If you walk into an appointment when a seller just smells that you're after money, right, that you don't have their best interest at heart, you walk into the appointment and the first thing that you do is just start talking numbers, they're going to read that in you. They're going to feel your energy, right? And it's going to drive up a wall and a barrier from getting more opportunities and deals closed. So I'm really glad that Lisa touched on this because it is important to start with a service first mentality. Now we'll deep dive in what this really means in some of the acquisition modules to follow. But whenever you're stepping into an appointment, whether it be on a phone call or in person at the property, you always want to approach the conversation with a service first mentality and let the seller know that you have their best interest at heart. Now, this can mean a lot of different things, right? It could mean you're educating them on the current state of the market, on the comps in the area. It could also mean that you are understanding their unique situation. Where is that seller at in their life? What do they need? What are those pain points? Are they behind on their mortgage? Did they just inherit a house from a family member that they still have emotional ties? As a deal practitioner, it's your job as a wholesaler, as an industry professional, to be able to read into these things and dissect each and every little clue that comes up in conversation in order to identify how you can best serve them. What would you say another trait would be for an industry professional in the real estate space in general?
Communication is huge, especially in this market.
Quality communication. What does quality communication mean to you? I mean, so Lisa helps us on the disposition inside of our business. She helps with the hedge fund program, the partnership portal. So she sees everything on the back end from contract to close. So who better to ask, when it comes down to it, when we're processing hundreds of deals a year, right? What does communication mean to you on the back end, and why is that so important?
So quality communication in real estate is highly important on both sides of the tracks, whether we're talking retail or wholesale. From, a transaction coordinator point of view on the wholesale side, and as a realtor representing, a buyer or a seller, we need to have open lines of communication with all parties involved at all times, making sure that the ball doesn't get dropped at some point or time during a transaction. Meaning I need 100% upfront honest communication from buyers and sellers, from attorneys, from wholesalers, from other agents, or whatever that may look like. So quality communication across the board in real estate in general is super important and should probably be one of the most important things to be really good at, or make sure that you're on top of when you're talking about professionalism in real estate.
And I think that's a big piece to the equation that gets overlooked, where the ball gets dropped, right? All these different training courses and material talk about how to market, how to find deals. Like, yes, all this is super important. That's where you're making money, right? But you also need to make sure that you're creating a clean communication channel, a clean process where all the parties to the transaction know what's going on, they're communicated with efficiently, and you're actually going to save a lot more deals, right? There's times that a seller's like, hey, you haven't called me in 2 weeks, what's going on? Or they just decide to bounce, right? It happens. So a big missing link in this equation, guys, is just making sure that you can put that in place. And it's our job to help you guys see those gaps inside of the business as you're building it on the back end, so that you can have a clean channel of communication and a professional process moving forward.
And from a wholesaler end, if you are communicating as often as you can with any changes or updates to your seller, you're not only building trust, but also rapport with the seller, and the more likely they're going to be able to work with you and cooperate with you better and easier and make it a smoother transaction and get it to close. That's one of the biggest things, is they think, oh, well, we haven't heard any news, so we don't, no news is good news, so we, have no reason to make contact. Well, that's false. So I will update people, at least once a week. It's often more. But for instance, like, I had a seller text me the other day. She's like, hey, I signed all my documents. I haven't heard in a couple of days. What's going on? And I simply replied to her that, it was in the process of title search. Everything's looking good so far. Thank you for signing the paperwork and helping us on that end, and as soon as we get clear title or the title work comes back, we will let you know first thing. So just updating people as the process goes along, even if you don't technically know, just giving them peace of mind that you're there and that you're actively working on their behalf is hugely important to the sellers.
I love it. Last thing we'll touch on is just understanding the process, understanding the wholesale process from the point that you're pulling data, communicating, negotiating with the sellers, lining up your buyers, and facilitating that from contract to close. Understanding the process, guys, because a lot of people have absolutely no idea what they're doing in the industry, right? They send out contracts, gun blazing, and they're not beginning with the end in mind, right? They're not understanding their numbers. They're not getting familiar with their market. They're not doing the groundwork to really iron up and get their acquisition skills in place so that they can step into an appointment prepared and ready to serve that person, right? Too many people reeking of commission breath. So hope that helps you guys. Get out there, never stop learning, never stop growing, and always strive to be a professional person inside of this business. We need more of that.